Greetings, salutations, namaste. This is a circa Valentine's Day drop. I don't really have any like fire or groovy esoteric info for Valentine's Day. That was a big blind spot for me for this drop. It's been a little wild in this neck of the woods these days, so I just wanted to get in here and do a quick update on some really influential, I think is the word, planetary movement that can be a little confusing at times in February. So I want to see if I can smooth out the edges for anybody who will be blessed and maybe not even realize it. That's sort of the theme I'm going with for this. So I'll get right into it. So as I drop this, it's February 13th, and the sun, Surya, has moved into Aquarius, where it is joining the captain of Aquarius, Saturn, Shani. This is Saturn's favorite house, his Multrikone. This is the office of the planet, the Multrikone, where they do their best work, optimal functionality. And Saturn is all about optimal functionality. The engineer is sort of the Saturnian archetype. Also, it represents the common man. So it's the common man working to engineer a society that is optimally functional. Now, when the sun and Saturn come in, the sun has a different goal. It's our individual purpose, our soul. It's who we are beyond this matrix. So we come in with certain very specific things to accomplish because of the sun. So it represents our authority, and it also represents other authorities. So Saturn being the common man, the individual in the communal, the sun being the authority of the individual and also authorities over the individual. There's a lot of complex energy, and these planets typically have a little bit of friction, you might say. However, the sun is also said to be the father of Saturn. So there you go. There's something here that has to be worked out between these two grahas, or between the luminary of the sun and Saturn, the graha. So even though the sun and Saturn are just now coming into a technical conjunction in Aquarius, the sun has been within 10 degrees of Saturn, hanging back in the cut in Capricorn. So even though they weren't really in the same house, Saturn's been feeling the sun influence and heat for a minute now. So what's actually happening is sun moving into Aquarius is putting a full blossom on this combustion. And what happens in a combustion is the closer the sun gets to a planet, the more or the less visible that planet actually is in the sky, and the less accessible that planet's energy could be to all of us. So let me talk about this in terms and context of Valentine's Day, in case anybody's planning anything that they want to be super lit on that particular day. Just think about it for a second, because the next day might be better, and every subsequent day after could get progressively more, let's say, romantic, the potential for romance. But what is interesting is the zodiac sign that's known as the most lusty or lustful, maybe. Scorpio is where the moon will be during this period of the 14th and the 15th. So it's a Scorpio Valentine's, and I'll talk a little bit about Scorpio and why it's known as this lusty sign in the latter part of the video. I'm talking about house numbers a little bit. For now, the transit, the 14th, why I said you might want to wait. The sun and Saturn are going to be within a degree or two of each other, as Venus is trying to escape this situation where she's going to be exalted. Shukra will be exalted in Pisces in just a matter of a couple of days on the 15th, at which point Jupiter and Venus will form a very beautiful yoga representing Shukracharya, Venus, and Brihaspati, Jupiter, the guru of the Asuras and the guru of the Devas, respectively. So this is one of the most beautiful conjunctions you can have, and especially in Pisces, these two planets become incredibly potent. Another date to look out for is the basically the midnight of the 19th on if you're Eastern Standard Time in the States, or early morning the 20th in the Western hemispheres. This is the new moon, and the new moon will be in Saturn's house, Aquarius, joining the sun, of course, which forms the new moon. And the nakshatra that this new moon is laying the seed for the next lunar cycle is Shatabishak. And this is Varuna's domain, and it's represented as a circle. Those with Shatabishak are known to be quite hypnotic and influential in social circles because this is the natural house of the network circle. And so the circle theme is something I'm going to kind of talk about, and this kind of concentric idea that there are many different circles at play. And I want to kind of use a safe, like when you ever seen in the movies, like people with their ear to the safe and they keep turning and they're trying to calibrate that click. And that's sort of what February into March, the themes might sort of concern. You get a kind of chemical response when you take salty and sweet, or bitter and sweet, or however you want to put it. And the wrong imbalance will yield crappy taste, but the right balance is something called umami, I think, or it's like the idea that it's like sort of the perfect blend of flavors. Talking out of my ass here. Anyhow, this is what this month period will be about. There's going to be blessings given from Venus, Jupiter, Venus exalted in Pisces, Jupiter in the domain of its sign. And then the Sun-Saturn combustion will play out over the course of the next couple of weeks, and will find total relief at the end of February. And I'll talk a little bit about that date as well. But for now, the new moon around the 19th, 20th, we're going to be getting the moon, very sensitive planet, kind of with these two planets, that are in friction. So this new moon period is definitely the time to sow the best and most propitious vibes that one can. Take the criticisms and use them as course corrections, because the sooner you do, the quicker the blessings might come in from Venus, Jupiter. So that's the idea. Saturn wants it perfect. Sun is leaning over Saturn saying that's not perfect, or Saturn's leaning over the Sun trying to say you're not perfect, but it can't be heard because of the combustion. February is the period of not flirting with disaster, like playing it cool, knowing that the planets are subtly in these sort of imperceptible cosmic ways are looking out for our best interest, even if we can't see it. This is where that idea of faith comes in. Whatever you believe in, this is where the planets support these times that we get our tests given to us and we have to respond. An example of this is around that new moon, this shift in the north node of the moon, Rahu, which is the dragon's head. Constantly wanting to indulge in the matrix. It's what we are obsessed with when we come into our existence. And Rahu is moving from the nakshatra Bharani, which is all about cosmic justice, into Ashwini, which is very much about healing. And Rahu and Ashwini, over the next 6 or 8 months, in my humble opinion, might reveal a lot of healing modalities, bizarre, eccentric, renegade, misfit healing methods that come out of nowhere. Or people just might start researching that sort of thing in their own lives. That's sort of the Ashwini vibe. So Rahu moving in here is going to set up that wave. So it's all about knowing that even though we might not feel it in that instant, we'll catch the wave at some point. It's a lot easier said than done, but it is the period to embrace course corrections, or at least entertain them. Disruptions can be a good thing. Disruptive energy can be a healthy shift, even if it might not seem that way in the moment. And what's going to be interesting is this could all play out in the next month or so that you get very quick reveals about certain things that might seem impossible obstacles that suddenly open up new possibilities. So looking towards the end of February, what we have is on the 28th, just at the moment when the sun is finally leaving its combustion from Saturn, we're going to have something called a Shul Yoga. And this is where you have all the planets in 3 zodiac signs. So if you think of the idea of a trident, like, you know, the spear, this can be like a sort of period of like extreme rise or extreme fall, or like a sort of battle mode where you just suddenly want to rush into something. And so right at this moment where you've been just, you know, at the tail end of all of this exhaustive energy and you're emptying the tank, you're going to have this feeling of just going into battle somehow. And then at the next moment, the moon will clear out and everything will return to a 4 zodiac, which we've sort of been in for a while, which is a very stabilizing energy overall. So you might see on the global scale around the end of the month, like some kind of military action, let's say, because Mars is going to be with the moon in Taurus. And this is where Mars has been dilly-dallying for several months now. So it's another reason why it might seem like there is a lot of stuff to go back over. Mars is retracing a lot from the past several months. So yeah, get those ducks in a row and know that if you do, Saturn is going to be there having your back once the sun clears out of Aquarius at the end of February. So once Sun is moved a little bit, given Saturn a little bit of breathing room in Aquarius, the calendar turns to March 1st, right? So we have Venus and Jupiter in Pisces. So it's like cut back to the really good stuff. This will be being a blessing all throughout February, but where we really might get to see and feel these blessings is the first 10, 11 days of March. So look for that time to be, or optimize that time to be something that you do that's very special, that involves, because Venus and Jupiter are the gurus. So the more you learn about spirituality, you know, you might think you want like money, but these gurus, if you learn about spirituality, will show you ways to get wealth that might be material, but also immaterial. And you might end up feeling like the immaterial wealth is even better than the material. Just saying. So I'll just wrap up and talk a little bit about numbers, which are a passion of mine. But if you had asked my child self how I felt about numbers, I would have given you the Saturn finger. I'll talk about the fingers as well, that each digit has its own planetary purpose or influence. Another drop. So yeah, numbers are numerology. So let's just take that as an example. I know a little bit about numerology, but I feel like astrology has its own numerology. And the house numbers, or bhava, this is the numeric representation, either counted from your ascendant, which was the star that was on the eastern horizon when you were born, or from your moon. You can create an ascendant from any planet and tell a lot about a chart. So for now, let's keep it simple. 1 through 12, there is a numeric correspondence and representation for every house in your chart. And I want to talk about this because I'm working with a client, or client, whatever, a fellow soul traveler who is exploring these concepts, and the number system is one of the next readings I want to talk about. So a little preview for that individual. The bhava is your first house is your ascendant, and that's you. And then the 12th house is everything that's outside of the matrix, that's not us here in the matrix. So of course, each house number in your chart represents something different, from your physical appearance to the way that the planets will influence. So for instance, the 7th house is the house of relationships, and it's also the house of war. And so talking about Scorpio, one of the reasons that Scorpio is known as this lusty sign, in my opinion, I haven't heard this said by anybody else, but you look where Venus gets influence, basically. from Scorpio. So you make Scorpio the house number 1. 12th from 12th from Scorpio is Libra, where Venus rules and is Multricone. So this is the 12th house of bed pleasures. Now take 5 houses away from Scorpio. This is Pisces, where Venus is exalted, and this is where she's going to be in the next month or so. So this is the 5th house of romance. Okay, now 7 away from Scorpio, as I just said, is relationships. So 7 away is Taurus, where Venus rules. So you have Pisces, Taurus, and Libra, and all of these houses in relationship to Scorpio, when you make Scorpio the ascendant, creates the parameters, let's say, for intimacy to flourish. And this is one of the reasons I think that Scorpio deservedly probably has these energies. So I'm going to wrap it up there and talk a lot more about these concepts in the future. So I want to wish everyone the optimal optimization of Valentine's energies, whether you're single or in a couple, doesn't matter. Scorpio moon will figure out some way to make things pretty spicy. So enjoy, and I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Namaste.